Welcome to the Answers for Elders radio show. Meet the trusted experts who will give you straight answers and will help guide you on the path of later life care.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Vitality Revolution through the Answers for Elders Network. My name is Dr. Shawn Weiss. I am the president and founder of Senior Health and Wellness Group, and I think at least a 12-plus year member and expert contributor to Answers for Elders Network. So I'm super honored and excited to be a part of this summer's revolution, where we are maximizing quality of life for older adults by really introducing and educating on the 8 foundational principles of senior wellness. And let me tell you guys, today you are in for a treat. So I am thrilled and honored to have our speaker today, who is an award-winning author and speaker. And if you see his website, LarryJacobson.com, you will see his many accomplishments and several books. And The Boy Behind the Gate was that your first book, Larry?
That was my first book. Yes.
And if you will see, we're going to talk about this later, but he's got a new book coming out as well. But really the epitome of how to maximize quality of life, find passion. And that is really what we're talking about today. We're going to focus on retirement. So a welcome to the Vitality Revolution, Larry Jacobson.
Thanks, Shawn. It's great to be here.
I appreciate you being here as well. And I would love if you would start us off by kind of sharing your story. And one of the most fascinating things that you told me when we first talked was kind of how you became a sailor, like the CEO to sailor. I think it's so fascinating and it's really uplifting. So tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got to be in this space.
Okay, be glad to. Let's see. Now, this is going to go all the way back to when I was 13 years old.
Okay.
Now, I'll try. How much time do we have?
No problem.
That was true. When I was 13 is when I first stepped foot in a tiny little sailboat and taught myself to sail down in Southern California in Long Beach. And fast forward 30 years. But when I was 13, I decided that I was going to sail around the world. And
you made that decision at 13.
At 13,
it was in your heart.
Yeah,
that's great.
So I hung on to that dream, and took 33 years more, and I had finished 20 years in the corporate world. Ended up as a CEO of a company, and got out and bought a boat, and spent the next 6 years sailing around the world.
6 years.
Yeah, it took 6 years.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
Where did you start?
I started right here in San Francisco Bay Area. And Great. It turns out if you sail west and you keep going, you will end up right back where you started.
I love it. I love it.
With 6 years of incredibly difficult challenges to overcome. Weather, mechanical breakdowns. I mean, just sold my house halfway through it.
While you were gone.
Yeah, spent everything I had. And got back after 6 years and thought, okay, great. I achieved my dream. My big dream is I accomplished that. And I felt great for myself. And then I thought, well, now what am I going to do? Right. And after being out there sailing for 6 years and then coming back to society, nothing had changed here, but I had changed significantly as to what my priorities were, what was important. You know, I used to be a high-flying executive and driving a fast car and flying first class and all that. And when I got back, it was like none of that was important anymore to me. And I recognized, I recognized that it was, I discovered the people in the world who had the least were the happiest.
Gosh, can I just write that on a slogan somewhere? I think you see that, and I think, Larry, what's really important is that, I've been taking care of older adults for over 26 years, and you see both ends of the spectrum. And I think, but what's common is they've always gotten to that point of what's next, or I gave up A, B, and C for so many years.
Yes.
Or I didn't do what I wanted to do, or I did do what I had to do, and now I don't know what to do. Or we have individuals now who are having and forced to stay in the workforce.
Right.
So once you become, over 60 years old, what we see is that, you kind of are in a little quandary of where do you go from here? And a lot of people want to just quit. And you see that decline in health by decreasing those activity levels, not having stimulation, really not knowing where to start. And if you're in a situation in retirement, like I said, you're going to be on a wide spectrum of what is your situation individually going to look like.
Right.
But
Right.
regardless, you've got to find purpose.
Well, and for me, it was when I got back, I just felt like a square peg trying to fit into a round hole. I just didn't know, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I sat down and I wrote my book, The Boy Behind the Gate, which is my memoir about the sailing trip around the world. And I wrote it as a kind of as motivation for others to show how to achieve big accomplishments and how that no challenge is too big and things like that. Then I got on the speaking circuit after that and did 2 TED Talks and a bunch of other talks, and that was all great. And then I thought, okay, well, that's good. Now what?
Now what? Now
Yeah,
what?
it just kept being now what, now what?
And there
And
can never be too many now what's, right? I mean,
no,
it's an
huh?
infinite possibility.
And you have to be open to when the opportunity knocks. So I got into coaching because a friend of mine who was a CEO at another company called me up and he said, "Hey, Larry, can you come over and give me some advice?" Yeah, sure. Okay. So I go to his office and I said, "Okay, what do you need help with? Personnel or finance or what?" And he goes, "No, none of those. I'm the CEO. I know how to run the company." And I said, "Well, what?" And he says, "I want to know how you got out. How did you do it? How did you go from CEO to sailing bum?" Right.
I
And I
love it.
thought, wow, gee, I don't really know. Well, I gave him a couple of tips and that it helped him, I think. And then a couple of weeks later, I get a call from a friend of his who was the CEO. Same thing happened. He wanted to know the same thing. How did I get out? So that's when I thought, well, maybe I'm onto something here. And there were very few retirement coaches, non-financial retirement coaches in those days. And that was only about 10 years ago. And it's become much more popular now.
Right.
And so I thought, well, maybe I should get into this and figure this out. So I took a year and I totally reverse engineered everything I did, all the thoughts and actions that I took to go from CEO to sailor. And I created this program called Sail into Retirement, which is the online video program
Hmm.
based upon all that. And then I discovered, oh my gosh, look, here's another book about the same topic. And I opened up and started reading and went, oh, that's what I just wrote. That's what I just. So I was right on the money, and it was based just on my experience.
But then figuring out too is what you realize is, you had your own story, and it was really about self-fulfillment and what were you going to do. But by going through that whole entire process, you had, wait a minute, I actually can help other people kind of go through the same. And I'm sure that when you were stepping out of a CEO position, there was some type of reasoning for that. What does that look like? I've had my business for over 20 years, and I often think about that as well. At some point your head's down so long that you forget to look up.
That's right. That
And you
is
don't
so.
want to forget to look up.
That's right. Well, I had this dream that was always in the back of my head, so that kept driving me. Right? That was my passion that was driving me to sail around the world, and that just kept me going. So, but you're familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, of course.
Yes.
So I had achieved, self, gratification for myself, but only when I started helping others did I achieve self-actualization, which is the top of the pyramid. And that's what I think everybody strives for. Certainly what I would strive for is I felt really good about myself and my own accomplishments. But then when I started using that to help other people achieve what they wanted, I started getting the best warm fuzzies that I ever could.
And isn't that an amazing feeling?
It
I mean,
is.
it really is. And,
Yeah,
sometimes you don't even realize that you have that gift or you have that ability to change people's lives. And I think it's so valuable. And like you said a few minutes ago, when you're thinking about retirement or changing directions as you get older, you know, a lot of times it's like, okay, I don't know what to do, but I got to do something. And it's not always about, yes, certainly the finances. When retirement, it's listed as one of the major stressors and life events that there is. It could
absolutely
be
is.
scary. It could not be as great as everybody. It's not always sitting on a beach with a margarita, um, living life and doing whatever you want. And for some, that's not how it is. Some people are strained from whether it's relationships, whether it's financially. So there's certainly the financial piece to retirement. But in my view, I feel it's all about mindset. And I feel that there's a lot of people that are struggling with how to find a purpose, or are they open to trying new things? And how do you guide somebody, Larry, who comes to you and says, I need to do something different and I need to find some joy? Where do you start with somebody?
The first thing I'd start with someone is I ask, and this is the same thing that's in my course, which is what I base my coaching on, because that course is now the gold standard, in my opinion. We start with visioning, with just stopping for a moment. Just stop what you're doing and try to create a vision of what you think, of what you see. And there's a lot of parts to that. The one big part is when you vision something, you don't be up here looking down at yourself in a picture. You actually have to put yourself in the picture.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to, it was like when I was visioning sailing around the world, it was so clear to me that standing behind the steering wheel of this boat and in these huge swells, I could almost make myself seasick, just because I could envision so much in so many details. I could vision the wind blowing through my hair while sitting on the beach and the sand in my toes, and use all your senses to come up with that. And then what I do is I ask a lot of questions, and part of those questions are like, there's a passion quiz that like is in the course that asks you all kinds of different questions, from what were you doing the last time you were really happy? What did you dream of doing when you were a little kid? And by the end of it, you look back and you see little patterns of little repeated words or thoughts, and it guides you to really what your main passion is.
Because sometimes it takes a while. People have to really stop. And when's the last time you've even thought about it? You've almost, some people have lost themselves, right? Or lost their individuality or something that makes them happy, right?
Yes.
Especially when you get to retirement. And then if you fast forward, to some of the individuals that I deal with who are maybe in senior communities, or maybe assisted living or independent living communities, where they are just struggling with finding something day to day to day, and then having to and wanting to motivate and find something, and that's what we do. I said, and I talked to him, like, tell me what you used to do. Tell me what things bring you happiness. Even in a physical therapy session, right? I'm asking that because you can see it's just they need to be brought out of their shell, and they don't.
That's right.
And you have to dig so that they can remember, like, oh, hey, yeah, I love doing, I used to paint all the time. I'm like, you used to paint all the time.
Then why don't you paint?
Why are we not painting? Yeah, things like that. So,
and part of it is that in our work careers, we're so used to using our left side of our brain. I say that where it's important that all of our ducks are in order. That was our work career. And now I'm asking people, let go and just let the ducks sit wherever they want.
Right.
And just dream and just imagine what you might do. And it doesn't have to be sailing around the world or climbing Mount Everest or anything like that. It could be painting. I had a CEO as a client, and it turned out, after all this digging, Shawn, you would love it. He says, well, I really just kind of want to paint. I said, why aren't you painting? Well, CEO is what I know. CEO is where I'm known. CEO is my social network.
Yeah.
It's all these reasons to not want to leave that identity behind. But in order to move forward, I will say that you can't steal second base without taking your foot off of first.
Exactly right. Isn't that true? I'm 54, but I'm going through that period too, having had a business for over 20 years and practicing for over 26. It was about almost 2 years ago. And I tell people, even my kids, I'm like, you don't know this about me, but I used to be very musical and artistic. I was going to be an artist. I was going to be a commercial artist back in the day before the computers, when you actually had to draw the advertisements.
Right.
I was really good at drawing things. But then I realized that I wasn't I could look at anything and draw it.
Wow.
But when I realized that, here I wanted to go do commercial, and I realized, well, I had to come up with some of these things myself and be creative, that probably at 18 years old, that wasn't my forte, and I might need to pick something else. And I was also in music. I was a percussionist, and everyone's like,
Wow.
what? And so about a couple of years ago, I'm like, you know what? What I don't have in my life is creativity, and I do have a creative side. So what I did is I taught myself how to make candles. And I have a little thing right over here beside me, if you could see, where I have my little candle lab, and I make wellness candles with essential stones and dried flowers. And it brings me it's therapeutic,
That is so
and I'm giving
cool.
to my friends, and I might sell them for, like, a couple to my friends, but I don't want it to be a job. It's
Right.
truly therapeutic in nature. And I thought, I have found something to balance my
Right.
life, or the stressors in my life. And I think everybody should do that.
And that's superb. And you can wind down one thing. So you're doing less of your work and increasing your artistic side, that work, if you will, call it that.
Hmm.
And a lot of people, I encourage them to try to get a step down retirement from the work. So, and I tell this to company HR people all the time, is you don't just let somebody walk out the door. Do a step down retirement where you're using their wisdom to train other people. And then, maybe after a couple of years, they've worked their way down and then gone. I also have a lot of attorneys who are clients, and they're the best, but they're the worst, because they're so used to working 12 to 16-hour days that
Hmm.
they don't know what else that they could do. So, I mean, I had one client who he not only had his name on the letterhead, on his door and on the office door, but on the building, right? So when he retired, he's like, who am I now? What?
Right.
Right. And I said, well, we have to start over. We have to start building what it is that you want to do next, and perhaps use some of your attorney skills in the next thing that you do.
Right.
So,
That's
yeah,
perfect. And I know, as you're trying to make those decisions, um, whether or not you are retiring from being a business owner, or whether you're retiring from a lifelong career. My dad was a factory worker for 32 years, and he retired, and he was like, what do I do? Right. So I don't
yeah,
think it matters, but I know you have what's called a retirement wheel, right?
yes,
And tell us a little bit about how you guide people, and what are the components of this wheel?
yeah. So, and this is something that all of your listeners are going to be able to get. And
Wonderful.
yeah, the retirement wheel is well, I talk about how you should have your passion, and you should follow your passion, whether it's sailing around the world or doing art or painting or mentoring or just doing something. But then I also believe that your life needs to be balanced, and the happiest of my clients are those who lead a balanced lifestyle. So on the retirement wheel, it's a wheel, and it has a place where you can mark 1 through 5 of how you're doing in each of these categories. Then you connect the dots of of each of the different categories, and see how would your wheel roll down the road. Like
I
if you're
love that
really low,
analogy.
yeah, if you're really low in one category, your wheel's going to go bump, 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 right? So,
Exactly.
and those categories are sharing and mentoring, recreation, health, financial, travel, exploring and learning, relationships, work, and then social and family. And then, and I also in the book and in the course say that, well, you can, if there's something missing there that you want to have, well, then put it in
Hmm.
as another spoke to the wheel, another category. But these 8 pretty much cover it. And when you look at that, it is so revealing. It's, I mean, I looked at mine and was turning around fine. Oh yeah, boom, boom, boom.
Boom.
Whoops. Well, I really need work in that department, in that area.
Well, what
But
a great and really just essential but simple way to kind of start prioritizing and looking at things. It's a great way to kind of dig into yourself a little bit,
yeah,
and take inventory.
And there's a lot of
where you are.
tools like that, of other tools in the book and the course that are like the passion quiz. There's a formula. I mean, there's a bunch of things, but it takes some work. It takes some time for you to sit down and actually make a plan. You know, what I've discovered is that people who come to me for coaching, they've never sat down to make a plan for what they're going to do with their time in retirement. They have the financial plan, right? Almost everybody has a financial plan of some sort,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
nobody, very few people have thought about making a plan. And a plan could include, what am I going to do on Wednesday mornings? Okay, Wednesday mornings, I volunteer at the school.
Mm-hmm.
Saturday afternoons, I have yoga. Tuesday evenings is card playing.
Mm-hmm.
Fridays is coaching the kids, grandkids baseball team or something like that.
Yeah.
And just putting those things on the calendar gets you up out of bed.
Yep. Because
And it gives
sometimes
you,
that is the first thing that needs to happen, right? Is
yes,
give me a reason to get out of bed today.
it's so true. And, those who, when you retire, the first couple of weeks are like, what? I'm sleeping in, not doing anything. And
Yeah.
after a couple of weeks, if you've had a career, it's like, this is not working. What else do I do?
Right.
My attorney client, he would call up the office and he'd say, how's everything going? And they go, fine. Okay, do you need me for anything? No. And he'd hang up the phone dejected, just like so sad.
I don't need me. I've
They
worked
don't
myself
need
out.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And where are my
I
friends? They're all at work. So
mm-hmm.
you got to find a new place to find your social connections. And I call it a do-over.
Mm-hmm.
You get a whole opportunity to start over again because we're living so much longer than our parents. We're
That's
living
right.
like average 10 to 20 years longer than the previous generation. And so that's a lot of time to, play golf.
Well, let me tell you exactly. Let me tell you, the boomers are, they're fighting this aging thing every step of the way. They want to travel. They want to eat well. They want to do all kinds of things. And as I, have taken care of many of them, just again, their mindset is such that there's nothing stopping them. Okay. So you have that group of people, and then you have the group of people that maybe have some chronic disease issues, maybe have some mobility issues, and they don't think there's anything for them, which is entirely not true. But what I find, when I analyze things as in my physical therapist, medical healthcare world, I want people socializing. I want it preventing cognitive decline. I want you to keep moving so that
Yes.
cardiovascular health, digestion. I want you eating better. So we're looking at all of those things that contribute to really optimal health and quality of life. Keep
Just right in my
moving.
water bottle. Keep
There
moving.
you go. Well, move it or lose it. I mean, that's what I tell everybody. Really, it's really true. Move it or lose it.
Yeah.
So, and all those things are really important. So when they come to you, um, asking for advice, and I think that wheel is just phenomenal because it really does hit all of the major points that,
Yeah.
again, you're exactly right. People look at it, retirement, as, are they financially ready? But
Yeah.
what they happen, they get slapped in the face emotionally because they realize they have no idea what they're going to do or what's possible. And that involves all of those things on your retirement wheel. So um, I think that that's just phenomenal. Now, do you have a certain age? Like, what's the youngest person that has come to you, Larry, saying, I want to get ready for retirement now?
Yeah, well, I live in the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area, so there's a lot of high-tech people who are retiring
There you
early.
go.
Yeah,
Silicon
so
Valley people,
yeah.
that area? Or, yeah.
And so mid 50s is
Mm-hmm.
in general where people start thinking about it. Maybe even early 50s, and all the way through. I think my oldest client was 84. And
I love
it's
it.
like, I'm still ready. I want to go do something. What should I do? You know, but some people also, there's another thing is that a lot of people have to continue working,
Yes.
or
Mm-hmm.
they are laid off because they're 65 and then they're looking for jobs, and that's another whole subject because
Yes, it is.
that's a big challenge. But there are some things that prevent people from hopping onto this wheel and doing all this planning and the work. And I would say that the number one thing is fear. People are
Mhm.
afraid. Everybody's afraid of the unknown. And so
Right.
they're afraid of going down the wrong path. What if I choose to do the wrong thing and I don't like it? They're afraid of leaving behind their old identity. So when you ask
Hmm.
someone, well, tell me about yourself, and they say, well, I'm a retired nurse. Okay, I didn't ask what your profession had been. Tell me about yourself, right? But they're
Right.
so ingrained with their
With
identity,
their identity.
and they're afraid of leaving that behind. And
Hmm.
so we have to create their new identity. And then there's also decision making. People are slow to make decisions because of fear. And so I teach a method of prioritization that makes decision making much, much easier for people. So by prioritizing what's the main importance. And then I would also say a lack of tenacity, you know, tenacity, perseverance.
Hmm.
We know from our previous lives that nothing comes quickly and easy,
Hmm.
unless you just win the lottery.
Right. Right.
And
Then
and
you just
and
go
even
hide.
even then, if you win the lottery and you have all that money, what are you going to do?
Yeah, go hide.
Then what are you going to do with it, right?
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
the important thing is I always come back to is to create a plan. And that
Hmm.
plan can be written on the back of a napkin, just
Absolutely.
Mondays I do this, Wednesdays I do this, and stay healthy. I go to the gym, a couple of times a week and walk and swim and what are you doing to meet new people? And I mean, and COVID
And try new things.
yeah,
It's
COVID
okay to
messed
try
that
new
up a
things.
little bit, you
It
know.
certainly did. It
Yeah,
certainly did. Well, there's a
but
lot of
we're
things
out of
that
that now.
marry in between what you do and I do, where we are really trying to have people maximize their optimal health, their physical function, their mental health, which to me is the top of the list right now. And COVID, I saw huge changes in emotional health in all age groups, but especially the people that we take care of. And people are still
Yes.
trying to climb out of that. There's a
Yeah.
lot of fear, and it changed a lot of people's lives. And you can see that in older adults. You can
Yeah,
still see that.
definitely. Because
Yeah.
I think that we're afraid. We're afraid.
Hmm.
I used to do yoga much more than I do now, and I have to admit, a little bit of that is fear of going into that room with all those people and getting COVID, and I don't want that. So it has
But
a
that's so true, and that's a reality. When you take care of somebody who's in that reality, you have to make adjustments
yeah,
and adjust what. But I think the most important thing you said, Larry, is you have to start somewhere, and
yes,
that could be on the back of a napkin.
yeah,
But one, it's okay. Give yourself some grace, but there's nothing that's not possible, especially in
correct.
the with technology and in this day and age. You can try something new.
Yeah,
You have it's not the end of the world. The world is your oyster, right? Like, you want to keep living. This is just the beginning. It's a stepping stone, right? What's your next phase going to look like? And
yes,
what is it that you still want to accomplish
right.
that you didn't finish or would have never started? And I think those
Yeah.
are really good starting points. So, um, tell us again where we can, well, like I said, if when you look at, I encourage every single listener to go to Larry's website and look at the many areas that he works in. I think that, he's won many awards, not just author and speaker, but when you look at his programs, there is something for everybody. Where can we find you, Larry?
Start with the new book that just came out, and it's
Name of
called
it.
yeah, it's called Your Ideal Retirement Workbook, and
I'm going to get it.
it's because it
I'm
is a
getting there.
workbook. I mean, it asks you all the questions, and it has place for you to write in the book because it's your book, and then by the end of the book, you have a plan. You'll have a plan if you follow
Perfect.
along. Now, there's for the listeners today, there is an awesome offer.
Awesome.
So you buy the book and you get free enrollment in the $95 video course.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh
So
my gosh.
the way you do that is you go to youridealretirementworkbook.com,
Okay.
and then you can order the book from wherever you want. There's Amazon or Barnes and Noble and Books Inc. and
Okay.
Book Passage. They're all on there. And so you can order the book there. And or you could just go to Amazon directly and order it on there. And then you scroll all the way down to the bottom of this page, youridealretirementworkbook.com, and there's a place for you to put in your name, your email, and the receipt number or the order number for your book. And then you hit enter, and it'll take you to a page where you can enroll for free in the video course.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Larry, it has been awesome talking with you. You've got wheels turning. You got my wheels turning. And I certainly, like I said, I feel like I have certain pieces, and a lot of that's financial, but there's a lot of things that I have already started thinking about.
Good.
And I think that I'm going to definitely grab your book and just make the most of it, right? It's never too late.
And enroll in the course as well.
Absolutely.
It's a lot of the same information, but some people learn better with reading, some with video, some with audio. So it's all there together. And it's really, I'm trying to reinforce the information and get it out to as many people as possible.
That's great. And we so appreciate you being on with us today. And thanks for being here for Vitality Revolution. I know I'm going to probably reach out to you soon for some other things, as I know we could talk for hours on the many experiences that you've had. Thanks so much, Larry.
Answers for Elders thanks you for watching the Vitality Revolution. Discover a blueprint to find a whole new gear in life, new awareness, and greater potential. Subscribe and be a part of our community. Answers for Elders is the North Star of navigating senior care, featuring content to help later life go a lot easier.